Okay, so in order to understand, Shalom everyone, in order to understand a little bit about this whole section, this whole chapter about Nusach, I wanted to very quickly tell you the history of how our Kabbalah, our Shalshot Kabbalah, of passing the Torah from one generation to the next. So first there was, of course, Moses and Joshua and the Zkenim. Afterwards, we had at the end of the Second Temple. They started writing the Mishnah, and it was finally compiled in 209. After that is the Talmud, so they're called Amoraim. And following the Amoraim, there was something called Rabbanan Silverai, who were in Iraq of today, and were basically planning the long exile of giving guidance and talking to people about what they should and shouldn't do in order to stay together. And then we had the Geonim, literally geniuses, who are going to be mentioned today. And after that, the Rishonim, meaning the first poskim. And after the expulsion from Spain, we had the Achronim. And today we are what's called Achronei Achronim, the last of the last. So this is how Rabbi Melamed explained it. Following the exile from the land of Israel and the scattering of Jewish communities, distinctions were created among the diverse ethnic groups, Edot, literally congregations, regarding the wording of the prayers. In the main prayers, those instituted by Anshe Knesset Hagdolah, such as Birkot Kriyat Shema and the Amida, the difference are very slight. Just very quickly, the difference between Ashkenaz and what's called Sfarad is that they don't say in the third blessing, Ki Elimelech Gadol Kadosh Ata. The Rabbanim of Ashkenaz said that we're not going to say because Hashem is a holy and great king. We don't want to write the word ki in that context. Even in the main passage of the Korbanot, sacrificial offerings and Psukei Zimra, which we begin the prayer with, which were established during the time of the Talmud and the Geonim, the disparities are minor. The modifications are more noticeable, however, in the supplements added during the period of the Rishonim, such as additions to the Korbanot passages and prayers concluding the service, Aleinu, Shir Shayom, etc. What was customary to include in Spain was not necessarily accepted in Ashkenaz. The word Ashkenaz itself is mentioned already in the Tanakh about an area that we call today Germany, and vice versa. This is especially apparent in the liturgy for the high holidays and festivals composed during the time of the Geonim and the Rishonim. Hence, we find completely different piyutim, poems, in the high holidays prayers of the Sephardic and Ashkenazic service, and I think that even more so during Slichos and the Lamentations on Tisha B'Av. There's huge differences. It is proper that every Jew continue in his family's custom. Again, he's writing this for the men. Usually the accepted custom is that if a woman gets married to somebody from a different congregation, like Sephardi and Ashkenazi or Yemenite or any of the others, that the woman accepts the husband's customs for everything. So I'll just give the silly example of Passover. If your husband is Ashkenazi and he doesn't eat rice on Pesach, then if you got married to him and you accept the new customs, then you stop eating rice on Pesach. Not because it's chametz, but because the Sephardim didn't accept the law of kitniot and that custom. Even if he knows that a certain nusach is more precise, continuation of tradition is more important than the accuracy of one word or another, and that's from the verse in Mishlei Shema Beni Musar Avicha Be'al Titosh Torah Timecha. We follow our parents' example and we continue in that custom. The Ari Kadosh clarifies the difference in wording and style between Sephardim and Ashkenazim. He explains that there are 12 windows in the heavens. If you remember, we talked about that when we discussed the actual structure of the Bet Knesset, in the heavens corresponding to the 12 tribes of Israel, and the prayer of each tribe ascends through its particular gate. That is the enigma of the 12 gates mentioned at the conclusion of the book of Ezekiel. Additionally, distinctions exist among the ethnic groups regarding the pronunciation of certain Hebrew letters, e.g., for example, Tzadi and Kuf, as well as vowels such as Kamatz and Cholam. Ashkenaz, especially Eastern Europe, they would pronounce comments like AW or AU, not O like Cholam, but and my rabbi, when he talked about Birkat Kohanim, he said if you always pronounce the comments like that, then even in your day-to-day speech, then of course you should continue. But if you are just doing it because you think that it's more appropriate for Birkat Kohanim, that's not right. And so each group must continue its custom of how they pronounce different letters and different vowels. If, however, people change their nusach, for example, if there's only one synagogue in the neighborhood and people are from different edot and they want to get something together and agree on maybe the majority or something else, they still fulfill their obligation for all the existing Jewish traditions relating to the reading of letters and vowels are permitted for prayer. That's from Igor Moshe, which is Rav Moshe Feinstein, one of the last poskim of the previous century. Additionally, even regarding the wording of the Chalitza ceremony, in which, according to all opinions, every letter must be enunciated, one may fulfill his obligation in any ethnic accent. And I'm very happy that we're talking about that because we're starting today chapter 9 of Yevamot with Benedict. So we've been discussing Chalitza for quite a while. Chalitza and Yubum, of course. So let's just go to the next paragraph, if my computer will allow. Yes. So the title of this is No Nusach should be considered more preferable than another, which is going back to what he just said about choosing something together as a community. The Chida writes in the name of the Ari that the Sephardic Nusach ascends through all 12 gates. Therefore, in his opinion, Ashkenazim are permitted to switch to the Sephardic wording of prayer. That's just his opinion. However, the Hasidim claim that their Nusach Sephard or Hasidi, is of higher quality, and they even call it Nusach Hari. So again, they maintain that the prominent Hasidic authorities investigated numerous wordings and formulas of the Kabbalah and selected the best among them. Those who pray in Nusach Ashkenaz assert that their custom is the most meticulous, for it was passed on from person to person as far back as Shimon HaPakuli, one of the Rishonim. Furthermore, one of the Tanaim or Amoraim, I'm not sure. And furthermore, the foundation for the Sephardic minhag lies within the Amoraim and Geonim of Babylon, whereas the basis for the Ashkenazic minhag originated with the Amoraim and Geonim of Eretz Israel, who wrote the Yerushalmi, and therefore it's a little bit different, who were more proficient in Agadah, Chokhmat Asod, and Nusachim of prayer. So all these things are basically claims that different groups say, and of course his conclusion is that that we should only follow our parents' minhag and not change and not say that one is better than the other. So I'm just going to skip. In summary, every minhag possesses its own advantages, and it is not in our power to determine which minhag is more praiseworthy. As the Khatam Sofer writes, and he lived about 200 years ago in Hungary, or what was called then Austro-Hungary, all Nusachim are equal. He maintains that the Ari composed his kavanot for Nusach Sephardi Hasidi because he was accustomed to praying in that Nusach. However, if a person like the Ari were to have resided in Ashkenaz, he would have written his kavanot based on Nusach Ashkenaz. And just a very interesting tidbit, the Ari, some people say that his last name wasn't Luria, but Ashkenazi. And it was because he came, or his family originated from Europe, but he, of course, lived in Safed. So that's basically the rule, that there's no minhag that is better or worse. And so we should just try to follow our parents. But if we move to a community that's different, then of course we should change, because we don't want to make separate nusachim in the same synagogue. My parents have the synagogue that they were part of in Beersheba is called Al Adati, and basically their rule was that the Chazan should pray in his nusach, and all three sidurim are there for the Chazan to choose from. But the other people, especially during the Amidah, the silent Amidah will say for themselves what their nusach is, as opposed to accepting the Nusach of the Chazan. But they should still say Amen when he does the repetition, etc., etc., etc. So,